Welcome to Tigs Bits. This week we continue talking wrestling. We had such a good discussion while we were waiting on DDP to hop on last week that I thought we need to share that. You're going to get another behind the scenes look at us preparing for our call, and we want to thank him so much for coming on to our little show for well over an hour. Unbelievable. If you missed that interview last week, you better go check it out. It was a good one. We also want to thank our sponsors, Gator Millworks and Boil Boss, and thank all of you out there for your comments, your likes, your shares, your subscriptions and follows. In fact, if you would like to help our show to keep growing and you're listening to this on Apple or Spotify, rate us, leave us a review. We want the show to keep growing and we want you to be a big part of it. We've got a lot of good stuff in the works. In fact, while I'm mentioning that, we have these lovely tumblers and coffee mugs now available on tigsbits.com. Now, I know some of you listening may not be big fans of the purple and gold. That's okay. We have 8 different colors to choose from. Thank you all so much. Let's jump into it.
Let me call him real quick and see.
I mean, I'm fine with the documentary pre-show that we're once again doing. This is great. It's great stuff.
15 minutes.
How long?
15.
All right.
But at least, even he'll answer, though, at least. Most people would just blow you off until they got free. And he's out of breath. I can hear him. Rawr, rawr.
He's straight up in a workout right now.
Yeah, he's probably kicking somebody's
really
ass or saving the world or something, helping single mom out at the grocery store. I mean, who knows with him? Saving a broken athlete. But yeah, it's going to be fun. He does, because man, it's going to be fun to bring Dallas on, and I think we'll say, we'll introduce I'll introduce you guys, and then I'll start talking about. We were talking about the South Florida area and Tampa, and obviously we're big fans, and we'll get into wrestling and stuff. But we were talking about, we talk a lot of the southern things here, and we were talking about that part of the country, and he was in Fort Myers, and just get him to tell us a little bit about that, and then I'm asking about the Sheik, and then we can get into DDPY and helping the athlete. We can talk a little wrestling there. We can fanboy about wrestling, then we'll get into DDPY, something like that.
Yeah. All right. I think it sounds perfect, man.
And then we'll wrap it up, or we'll get it during the DDPY. We'll tell him about your deal, Dig, about how you lost the weight, you're wanting to get on the train, and you weren't living a healthy lifestyle. Because he knows mine, and he's, so I'll mention that stuff too about my back. Lacey's a superior athlete. He needs no help. But I will say this, though, blase, the older we get, the damn stretching, look at him. I mean, it's going to get us all one day, and I know you're good about it because you're always stretching, but we all got to do it more. Yes. Lacey's always stretching because he's always ready to hit a golf ball or damn hit a softball. That's what I should have said yesterday. Him and Ted, he was in that group of guys who was in school because they were trying, and all they were really trying to do was pass like 1 or 2 courses to get their grades up or whatever, and play damn intramural softball or football, whichever one they were playing. They just want to play intramurals and do their one class and date some hot chick, a couple years younger than them, and they live by themselves already because they're older. They're living the life by that point. That was the heyday of college. That last couple on your way out, buddy.
Yeah.
You're still a little on the tit, but full grown. I mean, the whole deal. It was good times. It was good times.
Oh man, the best for sure.
Yeah. We can use some of this for some B-roll or whatever. But we were talking. I know Blasey had put a thing out to our buddies on our infamous PyCap text thread, who were their favorite wrestlers, and some great names came up. And I'm sure we'll get into it with Dallas. But for you guys, growing up, who were the one? What time in your life do you remember starting to watch wrestling? And who were some of your early guys you remember watching, or girls that you remember watching that you really liked?
Yeah, for me, it was, like the early, mid 80s going into that, late 80s move. And man, dude, it was like, so I'd watch a lot of the NWA wrestling, and then watching WWF, I believe at the time is what it was. So, dude, Hulk Hogan, I mean, he was the man, right, at the time. And that was full Hulkamania, all the little Hulksters out there. I'm a kid, and I'd stay up real late for Saturday night, main event at 10:30 on a Saturday night, and it'd go on till midnight, and I'm sitting there, but staying through it to wait for Hulk Hogan to wrestle, and somebody put him in a sleeper hold, and him to the 2-arm drop, and then and all the Hulksters would go nuts. Like, that I was a kid, dude. It was so great. So that was, it really just at that time in my life, how I was into wrestling. It was hands down was Hulk Hogan, which, I mean, that's going to be a lot of people if you grew up in that time frame. You know what I mean? It was, and then, of course, it evolved after that. Loved watching NWA and the Rock and Roll Express doing their double drop kicks and all that jazz. But I'd have to put Hulk at the top of the list, man, just especially as a kid.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I mean, I remember being a kid and Hulkamania and just, ripping the shirt off and that was the Hulk. And then, of course, being in the Rocky movies didn't hurt anything and all of that. I've always been a huge Rocky fan. And it was Hulk. But as it went on, I liked Mid-South Wrestling. I've told a story on one of our podcasts about a guy named Henry Downs in Florine, Louisiana, the little town that I'm from, throwing a freaking chair in the ring because he got a little upset at the Junkyard Dog that night. He didn't think that it was scripted, right? But that does not demean anything from those guys. It was just a misunderstanding, I think, back then and what that term meant. Right. We got a guy coming on that can assure you that stuff hurts.
It was just a little more predetermined than what you realized. It was. That's right. Boys were beating each other up.
You can't tell the same story in every single town. And if they really and truly were beating the hell out of each other, somebody would not be able to do it the next night.
Right.
If they were like going into the hospital, they were truly breaking arms. And
stuff. And that stuff happens, but it's usually, an accident because they're trying not to. And that was where it all came from. Originally it was just straight wrestle fighting.
It was the real deal.
At some point in the day, they decided, hey, why don't we, like boxing used to be worked a lot. They started working the matches, and then they figured out this is the way to do it. So they, there was that changeover for a long time, but they kept it internal that it was ever changed to that,
right,
and called it kayfabe, and keep, not, just don't talk about it. It is what it is real. So, but yes, definitely, man. If you see any of those stuff, especially if you watch the old guys, man, when they, beat the crap. There was no mat out there. They're throwing each other on top, landing on the concrete. Any one of us jumps off the back of our pickup truck 10 times in a row, we're going to the hospital. You know what I'm saying?
That's
we
fact.
We can't even, we jump out of the back of the pickup truck probably 5 times we're going to get injured. So it's just, there's no doubt. And obviously it is. And anybody that doesn't understand that it's a form of entertainment, just like anything else, it's a competition, but there is predetermined winners. Is the difference in that and any other
just extreme athleticism on display out there is what
unbelievable athleticism. Unbelievable.
Oh yeah, imagine it. It's like us. You got to live on the road, but you also have to keep your body up and you have to perform. It's just it's a crazy thing. And then back in the day when they drove themselves, like we're talking Hogan, even that day they weren't flying on jets then, and they didn't have their own tour bus back then. 3 or 4 huge guys got in a rental car and drove town to town, got there, checked in, hit the gym, ate, showered up, went to the show, repeat, 400, just crazy. And now
it really is.
Now they have it a little better. They don't work near as much. They've got, just like in sport, just like in all major sports, they have good trainers, they have good equipment, they've got good doctors. All the stuff. Back then there was none of that. Same with football or basketball. There weren't even, there was barely any trainers in the, by the 80s and stuff, 90s in pro sports. Oh, yeah. Really, back in the 70s, those NFL guys were smoking cigs on the sideline and stuff. You know what I mean? So it's just a whole nother world. But that has gotten better. But yeah, that old back in the day, man, you watch those old guys, Don Fargo and Bob Armstrong and all those guys, man, they would just beat the crap out of each other, in some armory in some town in Alabama. But that's, I was like you guys, television wise, Hulk drew everybody to the TV because it was on national TV. NBC, was picking it up, Wide World of Sports and stuff like that. And then, but I remember watching regional stuff too, because it came on when I was in Mississippi at my grandmother's. They got a lot of that Mid-South wrestling.
Mid-South,
so you got, yep. And then, and then when we moved to Alabama when I was young, we got TBS. In our apartment. Yep. We moved into a Montgomery because it had like a 30-channel cable package that was included with the apartment. So we had cable for a little while, and I had TBS. Yeah, oh man, it had a microwave. I remember us going into that apartment, Mom being like, "Look, it's got a microwave built in the wall." We were just us, didn't have a microwave for that. It's 1985, whatever. But so then we got that. So then I started watching Crockett promotion, the NWA stuff from Atlanta and North Carolina, and then the Alabama stuff was happening. That would be local. Like you could go to Montgomery or Prattville or Wetumpka and see.
Yes.
The Armstrongs versus the Rock and Roll Express, even maybe. You just never knew.
The Four Horsemen, baby.
But that was early on, and I had an aunt who was a fan. She liked Hogan, so she would let me watch it with her. Did you guys have? And then my dad hated it. Obviously, my mom was indifferent. My mom would take me because it would keep me occupied, for X amount of time. But did you have family members, yay or nay it, when you were trying to watch it growing up? Either of you guys?
Oh, I definitely did. My grandmother, and I don't remember it quite as much as the stories that I hear from like my sister and my mom or my dad really. But I guess it would be my grandfather's mother that she, Ma Curdy was her name, and Ma Curdy was into wrestling. We're talking like 1980, 81, 82, very religious lady, didn't like cussing, anything. I mean, straight laced, but she had one little thing that she loved, one little vice, I guess, and that was watching her a little wrestling, man. And
yes.
So, so she couldn't stop herself. And the stories that I've heard about how intense she would get. I mean, I wish that I could have seen some of the stuff because it just sounds like it was hilarious to be around, just like she was in it and she didn't like them beating up her boys.
No, and people don't understand how big wrestling was back then, even pre-television with local stuff. Wrestling was a big deal nationwide, worldwide, for a long time back then. For like 20s, 30s, 40s when in Gorgeous George and all that stuff. I mean, that was a big deal.
I talked to my mom. I was telling her what we're about to do, and she was like, "I'm not very familiar with him." I said, "Well, a lot of people are. I promise you that." But she said, "I only really know Gorgeous George. Did I ever tell you that story about the time that I got a lock of hair that came from a police car that it was like."
Right.
No, you didn't, but it was obviously impactful,
Yeah, right. And and that stuff lives on. And I don't know, maybe some of ours is tainted with Hogan since modern age and media and all that. I don't know if we'll ever have these true movie stars and rock stars and athletes like we did back in the day because the hint of mystery is gone for the most part. But it was such a big deal back then that when there were the few national televised spots where major stars were on one of the big three channels back then, say it was going to be, say, Mickey Mantle and, whoever the great football player. And then Gorgeous George would be there too, because wrestler and whoever the best boxer was, that was considered as legit and big and important, which it's on ESPN still now, so it still is. But it's always been a big thing, and it got cartoony when we were kids. But before that, it was an adult thing. Like, kids liked it too. But like music was the same way until the Beatles in the 50s came along and the Elvis and all that. That changed. That was adult music before then too. Country music was adult music up until not long ago, and now it's all formatted for younger people with streaming. But that kind of how it was, because back in the day on those old black and white smoke filled, I was talking to my friend Mike Diamond, which we'll have on in a few weeks. His dad was a wrestler in the 70s and 80s from the Pensacola area, and he's a musician here. But he was telling me the aura of going in to say the Dothan, the building there in Dothan in Pensacola, the big building there.
Yep.
He said, he said just the smoke above and the lights, the way it felt like going to a boxing match back in the day, like you see on TV. And he said there was just something edgy about it. It was just a different feel than the glitz and glamour now. But that was adults going in there to have a beer and a cigarette, like you said, to watch their buddy, their guy they like, beat up the guy from out of town that's coming running his mouth about the people around here, And it was a big deal, and a lot of people took it serious, and it wasn't as. And then once it became more of the younger audience oriented, it changed. But I think a lot of people don't realize how big a deal it was prior to that. Like you're saying, that was your Meemaw. And she was as diehard as we were about Hogan, but it was about people black and white day,
Maul
no
Cody
flash,
was in it,
no
I
thrills, no
promise you.
theme song, just the guy that she liked that would come out there and talk,
I hit my stride though with wrestling really in the mid 90s, when WCW kind of came in and made a flash with what they did, and then rolling on into the war with Raw and all of that. Like, that was my absolute heyday of, hey, I'm in it, man. I watched every event for both of them. If I couldn't watch one of them, I taped it. If I watched Raw, I taped TBS so I could see WCW and vice versa.
Monday Night Wars, it was huge.
It was just the absolute best, and I love both of them. I didn't care who won.
Perfect. Thanks, bro. See you. He said he'll call me in 2 minutes.
Oh, okay.
He's I'm telling y'all, this is a workaholic. You ain't seen nobody work like this. I'm telling y'all, it's crazy, and it don't stop. It don't slow up.
Does he need much rest, or is he one of those that can go on 4 or 5 hours?
No, he sleeps. No, he's got to let your body heal. No, he'll sleep. He'll plan sleep, and he's like, "This is it. No, it's out. I'm gonna take my melatonin, put these things in. I'm going. This is when I'll be up. I'm making protein shake. I'm gonna be in the sauna for 20 minutes after that. Then we're going straight to a workout. Then we're gonna hit the hyperbaric. Then we're gonna go have a lunch."
So he did get one of those hyperbaric. I will listen to Joe Rogan. That was like recorded 4 years ago.
Yeah,
and they talked about, I think it was that chamber. So I guess he did get in on Joe Rogan. That ends that. He got it.
Oh yeah. If it helps you, he's got it. Because he's been flying down South America getting stem cells. He's trying to get everybody else on that. Awesome. He takes it seriously.
Very seriously.
He's flown. I think he flew his mom down there to get some stem cells for her as well and stuff. He's
he
serious
even
about
mentioned
it.
He's
trying to hold back the hands of time. That's his whole goal. Hold back the hands of time.
He's doing a hell of a job at it.
And he says there's no magic pill. It's just work.
He mentioned the stem cells in the workout I did today with him. I did a stretch. Today was day 2 and it didn't have a workout, just following the plan. But I'm going to do something every day. So I said, you know what, today, because it's make it your own, so I am. So I said, today would be a good day to go. Let's see what these stretches are about.
Yep.
Just normal stretches, but can walk you through. It just explained very well, man. That's what's so nice about it. Not gonna lie, I'm sore from what I did yesterday, and I didn't use any weights. I used nothing but my own resistance. It's incredible. It really is.
So even now, I try to work out. I worked out today, but I don't work out crazy. I've gotten to where my workouts, I might do 6 or 8 sets. I don't go real heavy anymore. It's like the last thing I want to do is injure my body. You know what I mean? I don't want to. Yeah. I'm not trying to get big, none of that. I just want to stay. I want to have real good flexibility. I want to have really good core strength, and I want to maintain my overall strength and my muscle tone. That's really my only objective. And it's funny, I'm reading all about DDPY, and it's really kind of the whole basis of a lot of that, So
yeah,
I've got to do something. I'm kind of getting bored, with what I'm doing. It's like, cause I do more old school stuff, like, curls. I do arms. I do back. I do chest. I do a little bit of legs. These legs kind of show that, but I'm not a big giant leg guy. But I need to do more.
Dude, we're going to go to DDP's studio, and we're going to work out with him, and I'm going to make Chad Ringer. I can't wait.
Oh, hell yeah.
Because Blasey's up for the challenge. I know he is. And I'm telling you, Blasey, you know me, I'm not I don't have the natural ability you do, and I definitely don't have the physique. But you know me, I got that mentality. I'm an athlete, so I'll go until I can't go, and I'll keep up more than you think I would. And man, I'm telling you, these workouts, I've worked out a bunch. I've had coaches all my life and all that stuff. Man, this shit kicks your ass if you want to take it to the level. I do the beginner type stuff, and every time I inch up a little, or when I go work out with him, dude, it's something else, man. It's a trip though, Blasey, because really, it's not even bands and stuff. It is literally your own shit, and it all makes sense because it's basically basic calisthenics, physical therapy. Like if you were to get injury, the different stuff you would do during physical therapy. And a lot of the yoga stuff, obviously stretching, but then the Bruce Lee shit, the just moving through clay stuff. He's took all the good shit and mixed it all into one. It's effective because you can do the easiest one on there and get something out of it. And then there's like the double, triple diamond extreme shit. That's just like you watch him when you're standing on your head and you're doing, it's 2 hours. You can get crazy with it. But it's a trip though, how you think, because same as me, I'm thinking if I'm not in a gym, I'm not lifting or playing basketball, like something hard, I'm not going to get my ass kicked going slow and moving. But dude, it's crazy how it works. It really is.
My Apple Watch says that I burned a lot of calories while I'm doing that stuff. You know what I mean? And my heart rate does come up just in the first 2 days are really just going over the basics of these are the 12 diamond steps or whatever they're called. And then, they're going over those moves that you're going to be making, obviously, frequently in all of the workouts. So it just gets you familiar with it. The stretches, which are just good stretches, it's really well done, man.
Blasey, and it's like holding up the wall. It's like holding up the wall exercises. You know what I mean? It's like, and the planking stuff and just the different ways you hold it. He protects you though, so you're not hurting yourself. Like the angles and stuff you're doing.
Just some like of the stuff. He's like, if you can see your foot, you're back too far. If you can see just your toes, that's where you need to be. Like nobody's ever said that before.
And some of the stretches, I remember going to his house and doing something like just getting loose before we started working out, and doing some of the shit I've done all my life to stretch because a coach told me that when I was 7 that he told me never to do again. Told me never to do it again. Like one of the butterfly sit down things and stuff like that. He's like, no, never do it like this. Why would you do that?
Well, that's good.
I was taught that way when I was like 9. He was like, never do that. That's putting pressure. That's a terrible thing to do. He's like, do this instead. Lay on your back, put your knees up, flop to the left, turn your head this way. I'm like, oh shit. Crack, crack, crack. Do this. Crack, crack, crack. Put your knee up. Now put your foot on top of your knee. I'm like, oh my God. And then you stand up and it's like, shit, my back don't hurt. It's a fucking miracle.
That was effective. I didn't just twist everything. Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Well, my shoulder hurt yesterday, and just some of those stretches by the end of it still hurt, but it was much looser than it was. Is that a shoulder thing you can do?
Yep. And he said, and he'll say, if you ever watch an animal, a cat, a dog, in a wild animal, the first thing they do when they get up is stretch. How many of us, the first thing when we get up from napping or sleeping is stretch? Never. But that's the first thing any normal and natural animal will do is stretch. A baby.
I did not stretch today when you called and said we're going on with DDP in 10 minutes. I was taking a little cat nap there, and phone was ringing. I thought it was Hal. I was dreaming it was Hal calling. I was like, I'll call him back later. And I finally looked at my phone and noticed it was face down. I was like, no, you're dreaming. That's Hal. And it was him. And he was like, we're going on in 10. And I was like, good Lord. I did not stretch. I sprinted to the shed.
My brother, man, I'm just chopping it up. We're talking a little wrestling, a little this and that. I love it. I love it. Perfect. We're just talking about injuries and talking about stretching. This will be perfect. Yeah. He's digging it up. He's like, I'm sitting in the hot tub in the cold plunge. This is perfect.
Oh, it is perfect.